What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more tactical content for you guys today. We're going to be looking at the Fulham game, obviously Monday night, 2-0 to Spurs. And if you would have noticed, both the goals that we did score that day did have a few similarities to them. So what we're going to be looking at is the weakness that Ange Postecoglou did exploit in this Fulham side.
Yeah, so Fulham were quite resolute in this game, to be fair, for the 90 minutes. Actually quite solid at the back, and it was quite hard to penetrate them, and especially when they're in possession, a lot of the time they attempted to try and play out the back with little success, but a lot of the time they went long. But it was very difficult for Tottenham to find many weaknesses in that back four, especially on the ball, albeit we did open them up a few times, but Fulham are a very good defensive team. So there was very little that Tottenham had to exploit when it came to looking at where the weaknesses were in that Fulham back line and trying to see where we can gain an advantage. But there was definitely something which I noticed, which both goals came from, which Ange definitely exploited. And it was the right centre-back, Bassi. And what happened was, we'll see in these screenshots, but what happened was he's a left-footed centre-back playing on the right side. And it meant that when he was taking the ball on his right foot, he was a lot less comfortable trying to play out the back. And I think we saw this, and I think we tried to exploit this situation, and I'll show you how. So here is the first screenshot. This is Bassi picking up the ball inside his own half. You see Maddison running from his left side, preventing Bassi getting it on his left foot. And behind Maddison, actually, is João Paulinho. He's out of shot at the moment. But João Paulinho is there. He's blocking off the passing lane to João Paulinho, who's obviously the guy you're going to be looking for. He does have a pass off to his right-hand side in Castagna, but he decides not to use him. And Maddison forces him on his right side by blocking off that passing lane, running to his left, forces him to a pass down the line. And what happens is, in the next screenshot, he passes down the line. It's a poor pass. And there is Van de Ven, very high up, aggressive, waiting for that pass to Lukic, but knowing that because Bassi, he's not naturally right-footed, there's a good chance that pass isn't going to be accurate, and that's exactly what happened. And Van de Ven anticipated it. He stepped up, passed it very quickly into Richarlison, and then Van de Ven very quickly lays off to Richarlison. In the next screenshot, here it is, and he passed it very quickly into Son, who's waiting right in that central area in between Bassi and Tim Ream. It's as if he's waiting for any sort of quick interchange. He's waiting right in that position, knowing that he's onside, and bam, he's in that position.
It's almost like a trigger, right? It's
yeah,
almost like a trigger, like waiting for that moment to happen, and then everything just kicks into life.
Exactly. And I think Son was very purposefully waiting right in that central spot, pretty much on the D, in case there's a very quick transition, and he's there in position to exploit it. And if we see, basically, and there's obviously in that position, no one's stopping Son from hitting the back of the net. And then we look at the second goal. It's very similar. Bassi's on the ball. It's played out wide. Again, he has that ball to Castagna, but here where Maddison again is running on his right side, preventing him getting him on his left foot, forcing Bassi to get on his right foot. Again, he's blocking off. If you go to the next screenshot, you can see right behind Maddison is Paulinho. He's blocking off that passing lane to Paulinho, forcing him to go up the line. And there is Højbjerg, very tight on Lukic, waiting for that pass to be basically inaccurate and poor. And there's Højbjerg basically ready to step in front of Lukic, which is exactly what he did. And again, pretty much a carbon copy. Bassi plays a poor pass with his right foot, plays it long, looking for Lukic. It's inaccurate because he's left-footed. This time, Højbjerg plays a quick pass, and this time, instead of playing it to Richarlison, he plays it directly to Son, who's again right on the D, waiting for this to happen. And basically, the only difference this time is instead of Son cutting, he could have cut inside, I guess, in this instance, but instead of cutting inside, he waits for the run of Maddison, who he plays in and scores a goal. So it was a pretty much carbon copy of both goals.
Be interesting to know, because obviously they didn't know which centre-back pairing they would have played with and which one would have been on either side, but we did know they had injuries at centre-back coming into it. So do you think this is something that they maybe would have worked on the training pitch, or it's maybe when the lineups get announced off the cuff, kind of planned like an hour before the game or something like that?
It's hard to know, because I think before the game they were talking, there was rumours about Fulham playing potentially either João Paulinho at centre-back or maybe midfielder. So it's hard to know what they were expecting when it comes to the lineup, but maybe it's something that mid-game they noticed, or even when they saw the lineups an hour before kickoff, that's something maybe they would have noticed, because I think both Tim Ream and Bassi are both left-footed, so either one of them playing on the right would have been maybe a slightly more uncomfortable, albeit it's a bit of a weird dynamic, because when you've got a right footer playing on the left, no one usually says anything, but when you've got a left footer playing on the right, all of a sudden it becomes a problem for some reason. But
I think it's a bit more uncommon because there's so many more right footers than there are left footers. I think that's what it is.
That's probably it. But clearly Bassi was uncomfortable, and I reckon there definitely was a directive before the game to say, look, whoever's playing on the right hand side, whichever defender it is, just get him on his right foot. Make sure if he has to play a pass, he's not allowed to bring on his left foot. And if he is going to bring on his left foot, you're there to pounce, and you're there. And I think, in fact, if I remember rightly, Maddison even caught Bassi inside the area when he tried to put it on his left foot. And then we nearly scored from that as well. So there was clearly a directive. He's going to put on his left foot, fine, you go for the tackle. If he goes on his right foot, allow him to pass and make sure that you're covering all the players around him, so that his pass has to be accurate, otherwise you're winning the ball back. And if you do win the ball back, be ready and make a quick transition and go on and go on. That's what we got both our goals.
Yeah, I mean, it was a torrid day for Calvin Bassi, to be honest. He had a really hard time of it. We obviously targeted him with the shots that we have shown you today, but that just goes to show maybe more of an insight into the tactical insights that Ange Postecoglou does have, and what he tries to work with, and the kind of tactical advantages he tries to gain.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to note, because obviously you can have all the tactics you want, like we have, the way we set up and play out the back and all that kind of stuff, and it's all great. But sometimes you have to spot something in the opposition to exploit. Sometimes that's got to be a way to kind of break them down if the way you're playing isn't working. And I think that's what we did. I think we exploited the situation, we spotted it, and I think we made the most of it, and that's where both goals came from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's absolutely brilliant with the way that Ange just kind of spots these things in the game, or just before the game when the lineups get announced. And I think we have seen it on a few different occasions throughout this season already so far. So it'll be interesting to see how the season progresses, what kind of tactical twings and twists that he can bring in the coming weeks, because we've got some difficult games coming up. So he's going to have to use his tactical knowledge and tactical nous to the best of his ability for Spurs to keep going on the run that we are going on. But that was the thing that we did notice in the Fulham game, him trying to very much exploit Calvin Bassi with using his wrong foot as a right-sided centre-back. And yeah, there you have it. And maybe that's why, I know what you're saying about the right side and left side, but that's why it was so important maybe for us in Van de Ven to find that left-sided centre-back to slot in there on the left.
Yeah, and I think from Andrew's point of view, I think he likes to have those passing angles, and it's much easier if you've got a left foot on the left and right foot on the right to find those angles, I feel. So maybe that's why, I don't know if it was a preference for him, but that's why they were very happy to bring someone like Van de Ven in on that left-hand side. And I think it's crucial.
I think it was a preference.
Look, he was cheaper. There's definitely thing that goes into it. But look, I think he's been a brilliant signing, and even obviously I prefer Tapsoba in the summer, but I think Van de Ven's been an excellent signing, and I think they've done really good in their recruitment in identifying him, and I think him being left-footed is a big part of that.
Well, let us know in the comment section below, did you spot anything else in this Fulham game that you would like to bring to light? But that is the thing that we did notice, Spurs very much focusing on Calvin Bassi and him using his wrong foot. But thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always,
come on you Spurs.